Hi, everybody. Today I am going to be talking about yoga and diabetes, how yoga affects blood sugars and other risk factors that are associated with type 2 diabetes. Just a little bit about myself and why I was interested in the subject. I have been an RN for almost 10 years. I've been practicing yoga for almost 20 years, and I've been a registered yoga teacher for 2 years. And I've seen many patients with diabetes over the years, and in fact, the number of patients are growing. So, a little bit of background: the history of yoga. Yoga has been around for about 5,000 years. It dates back to the earliest civilizations on the Indian subcontinent. The Pashupati seal that is pictured here is thought to be the earliest depiction of an asana or a yoga posture. And the word yoga first appears in the Rig Veda, one of the Hindu holy scriptures that was written about 3,500 years ago. Now, the history of diabetes is just as long. The clinical symptoms of diabetes were first documented by the ancient Egyptians about 300 years ago. There's a papyrus that details the symptoms. And in ancient India, the condition was known as madhumeha, or honey urine. And they called it this because they noticed that when people who were exhibiting the symptoms, when they urinated, ants would be attracted to it because of all the sugar in the urine. The ancient Greek doctor Apollonius, pictured here, was the first person to use the term diabetes. And the famous Roman Dr. Galen was also aware of the disease, even though he did admit that he had only seen a handful of patients with it in his entire life, which kind of makes people think that it wasn't as common back then, even though they were aware of it. What I found interesting was that in the 5th century, there's documentation by the Indians and the Chinese that they had noticed that these symptoms of diabetes were more common in the overweight wealthy people. And in 1776, Matthew Dobson, a British doctor, found that it could be fatal in some people but chronic in others. So, what does diabetes look like now? The most recent statistics that I could find came from the CDC in 2017, and at that point they estimated that about 30 million Americans had diabetes. And what's really disturbing is that the rates of type 2 diabetes are rising in children. Diabetes is the 7th leading cause of death in the United States. So, what is the connection between yoga and diabetes? That is what I'm trying to find out. It's well known that the symptoms and risk factors for type 2 diabetes can be reduced through healthy diet and aerobic exercise. Even ancient doctors prescribed healthy diet as a treatment for patients exhibiting symptoms. So, yoga isn't always aerobic. So, that made me wonder if it would be an appropriate intervention. And made me ask the question, can yoga actually make a difference for someone with type 2 diabetes?